We have a lot of outcome gaps in education. These gaps have been part of the education landscape in St. Louis for generations, and they have one thing in common: outcomes for Black students are worse than for their white classmates. Educators, advocates, and policymakers have been trying to close these gaps for years, and yet they persist. Why? Because we aren't seeing these outcomes as part of a bigger picture. If we want to really understand why our education system produces these gaps in outcomes, we have to take a look at the whole system. Let's use a metaphor. Imagine two rivers. In the Southern River, water flows strong and freely. People downstream enjoy all the benefits that come with the generous flow of Earth's greatest resource. There's fresh, clean water for power, recreation, and irrigation. The townspeople are thriving. On average, they do well on almost everything you can measure. But in the Northern River, the water flow doesn't come close to filling the riverbed. People downstream have to work twice as hard to make the most of this limited resource. The townspeople struggle, and this shows up on those same measures. Students here represent the wealthy majority white districts in St. Louis. With all the resources flowing into their schools, they have a very different education environment than their peers over here, who represent the majority Black districts in St. Louis. What does that look like? For example, majority white districts offer 3 times as many advanced placement courses as majority Black districts, and 43% of majority Black districts don't offer calculus. Not a single majority white district fails to offer this advanced course. But what is the source of that disparity? Let's look upstream. Upstream, we see water towers on the Southern River. The Southern town built these water towers to ensure their town always had resources, even when times were tough. But the Northern River has no water towers because the Northern town didn't have the resources to build one. The water towers represent disparities in the funding available to flow to districts, and funding is a major source of disparities in education environments. In the 2018-2019 school year, the median majority white district received almost $1,700 more and spent over $2,000 more per student than the median majority Black district. In a classroom of 20 students, that's a difference of over $40,000 a year. Those extra dollars add up, not only to more course offerings, but also to higher paid teachers, newer and safer buildings, more extracurricular options, and better technology, all of which can contribute to better outcomes. But where do majority white districts on average get so many more dollars? Let's look farther upstream. Here we see a canal diverting water from the Northern River to the Southern River. The Southern town built it decades ago to help supplement their water flow. The canal represents one of the key forces directing more funds towards wealthy majority white districts and furthering those funding disparities: property taxes. The majority of school funding in every district comes from property taxes, and from one part of our region to another, we see vast differences in property wealth. The median assessed value of property in wealthy majority white districts is over $180,000 per student, almost double the value in majority Black districts. Why do we have such disparities in property wealth and property taxes that fund schools? Let's go even farther upstream. It turns out both rivers are fed from a single source, but this dam diverts most of the water to the Southern River. That Southern town built it long ago to guarantee their water flow downstream for generations. That dam is segregation, one of the root causes of the vast differences in property wealth and the property taxes that fund education. St. Louis is one of the most segregated cities in the nation. A long history of overtly racist federal, state, and local policies in housing, transportation, and other systems created and reinforced that segregation. In recent decades, we've passed more race-neutral policies, but these did nothing to repair the harm segregation had already caused. So while we've stopped reinforcing the dam, we haven't torn it down either. In other words, while segregation is no longer the law, we, both people and resources, remain highly segregated. 78% of public school students in the St. Louis region attend a racially concentrated school district, where at least 75% of students enrolled are of the same race. The dam of segregation built generations ago still affects schools downstream today. Wealthy majority white schools enjoy a historic and continued strong flow of resources, where students and teachers generally get what they need. While in majority Black schools, resources are limited, and students and teachers are asked to do more with less. The legacy of segregation also means that these students arrive at their school with less. In majority Black districts, an average of 94% of students receive free or reduced price lunch. In the majority white districts, it's just 29%. Students poor enough to qualify for free and reduced price lunch need more resources, not less. Now, this metaphor isn't perfect, no metaphor is, but it does help us see key systemic factors that impact education outcomes. For too long, we've tried to produce better outcomes for Black and Brown students in St. Louis by focusing only on what's happening downstream. That's like looking at the two riverbeds to understand why the northern town can't generate more power, without ever looking upstream. Even worse, conversations that focus only on outcome gaps without reckoning with the resource gaps that drive them reinforce toxic narratives of individual failure, of Black kids who don't work as hard and don't have as much grit, of Black parents who don't care as much. But these gaps represent our collective failure, and this misplaced blame cloaks the root causes of our racial inequities and helps perpetuate an education system built on unequal funding structures. If we want to change our outcomes, if we believe all children deserve an equal opportunity to thrive, we need to engage with the sources of the outcome disparities. We have to change the conversation, we have to shift our focus, we have to go upstream. That's the goal of Still Separate, Still Unequal, a new project from Forward Through Ferguson. It's an effort to lay bare the structural barriers to education equity in the St. Louis region and identify the levers we can push to eliminate them. Because eliminating those barriers is what's needed to give all our children the high-quality education they deserve. Learn more at stillunequal.org.